Hello, and welcome to today's video. In this episode, we're diving deep into one of the most pivotal events in American history, the American Civil War. Fought between 1861 and 1865, it was a defining moment that shaped the future of the United States. But how did it start? Who were the key figures? What were the battles that changed the course of history? Join me as we explore the causes, major events, and the legacy of this brutal conflict. Before the Civil War, America was a nation divided, not just geographically but ideologically. The North and the South had developed distinct economic, social, and political systems. The North, industrialized and more progressive, favored a centralized government and the abolition of slavery. The South, reliant on agriculture and enslaved labor, defended states' rights and slavery. The tipping point came with the election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860. Lincoln, a member of the anti-slavery Republican Party, opposed the expansion of slavery into new territories. The Southern states saw this as a direct threat to their way of life. And so, the South began to secede from the Union, starting with South Carolina in December 1860. The Civil War officially began on April 12, 1861, when Confederate forces attacked Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor, South Carolina. This marked the first shots of the war, as President Lincoln called for 75,000 volunteer soldiers to suppress the rebellion. Within weeks, 11 Southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America, led by Jefferson Davis. But the Union wasn't just going to let the Confederacy go. Lincoln's goal was clear: preserve the Union. The conflict quickly escalated, with both sides preparing for war. The war saw some of the deadliest and most iconic battles in American history. Let's take a look at a few of the most significant. The first major battle of the war, it ended in a surprising victory for the South, showing that the conflict wouldn't be over quickly. Fought in Maryland, it remains the single bloodiest day in American military history, with over 22,000 casualties. While technically a draw, it gave President Lincoln the political leverage he needed to issue the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing slaves in the Confederate States. Perhaps the most famous battle of the war, this three-day confrontation resulted in a decisive Union victory and marked a turning point. It was the Confederacy's last major invasion of the North. Union General William Tecumseh Sherman's brutal march through Georgia devastated the Confederate war effort and sent a powerful message about the Union's ability to wage total war. One of the most significant outcomes of the Civil War was the abolition of slavery. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, issued on January 1, 1863, declared that all slaves in Confederate-controlled territory were to be set free. While it didn't immediately end slavery, it was a moral and strategic move that shifted the focus of the war to include the fight for freedom. The proclamation also allowed African Americans to join the Union Army, leading to the enlistment of over 180,000 black soldiers and sailors who fought bravely throughout the conflict. The war dragged on for 4 years, and both sides suffered heavy losses. By 1865, the Confederacy was on the brink of collapse. General Robert E. Lee, commander of the Confederate Army, finally surrendered to General Ulysses South Grant at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9, 1865, marking the end of the war. In the aftermath, the Southern economy was devastated, and the nation was left to rebuild. The Reconstruction era began, attempting to bring the Southern states back into the Union and address the challenges of integrating millions of newly freed slaves into society. The American Civil War's legacy is still felt today. It fundamentally changed the nature of the United States, both politically and socially. The abolition of slavery, the strengthening of the federal government, and the subsequent struggles for civil rights shaped much of American history in the years to come. The war also set the stage for the civil rights movement, which would emerge a century later, as African Americans fought for equality and justice. The fight for freedom and equality, sparked by the Civil War, continues to resonate with us today. The American Civil War was a turning point in history. It was a brutal conflict, but it also marked a moment of profound change and transformation for the United States. Though the war ended over 150 years ago, its effects are still felt today as the country continues to grapple with the legacies of slavery, race, and national identity. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more historical content. See you next time.